Internet, my name is Lave and I watched Captain Marvel, the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the first with a female lead and a female co-director in Annette Boden, who's working alongside Ryan Fleck, who previously worked together on the excellent Half Nelson, so I was very keen to see what they could do with this character, Carol Danvers, who we discover is working with the Kree, the alien race we saw a glimpse of in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's part of their elite team of warriors fighting an intergalactic battle with the Skrulls, another alien race with the ability to shapeshift. During one of their battles, she crash lands on Earth and teams up with a young Nick Fury to stop them invading the planet whilst discovering who she is and how she got her powers. So cards on the table, I'm not that familiar with the character of Captain Marvel, I haven't read any of the source material, and I'm very aware that there was a lot of talk and controversy in the build up to this film which I was steering well clear of. I just wanted to go and see this film and judge it for what it is, a film, which based on the trailers made it look like it was going to be a really cool blend of Captain America meets Guardians of the Galaxy, and the result is so-so. I mean, it has got elements of the good-natured nostalgia charm of Captain America, and it's also got some of the quirky sense of space adventure humour from Guardians of the Galaxy, but those individual elements aren't as good as those individual films. But then coming off the back of Infinity War, maybe my expectations were a bit too high for this one. I didn't have any problems with the casting of Brie Larson as Carol Danvers. I think she's a terrific actress and she's obviously put the time in the gym. She looks the part, and when she gets the chance to throw down, she does kick butt. And all of the internet chatter that say that she was playing the part too seriously, I felt was unfounded. I felt that she brought a little bit of warmth to the character. She does have a personality and she has really good banter with Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, for example. I think any problems that the film does have is a result of the script and the screenplay and not a result of Brie Larson, but I'll come back to that later. For now, let's stick with the cast and Sam Jackson as Nick Fury and also Clark Gregg, who's back as Agent Coulson, who isn't in the film as much as I was hoping for, but I really like the fact that he's referred to as the Rookie. This is essentially his first assignment in S.H.I.E.L.D. So that was a lot of fun. And I also found it kind of funny that to make them look younger, they've put these wigs on and they do look younger. It's funny how having a hairline makes you look younger. See, I'm 20 again. Yay. All joking aside, they have had some digital touch-ups and for the most part it is really good. However, I did notice with Nick Fury that they have done a lot of nip and tuck work digitally to make him look a lot slimmer and a lot trimmer. So I think it's a case of digital body replacement as opposed to digital head replacement, and I did notice it, so it is very good, but it is noticeable. The CG was a bit of a mixed bag actually, this being a Marvel and Disney film and the budgets that they're working with and the experience that they have, I expect it to be impeccable, and it's not impeccable. For example, some of the scroll effects when they morph into different characters looked a bit like 90s CGI. I know it's set in the 90s, but it's not made in the 90s. On top of that, I think it does show that these directors haven't worked on a big budget action blockbuster before. The film is bookended with a couple of big action fight sequences with a couple of little ones in between, but the ones at the beginning at the end, there's a couple of fight scenes in there where it was very dark and I couldn't really tell what was going on. It could have been a result of me watching this in IMAX 3D and the glasses might have made it a bit darker than it actually is, so I'll have to give it a second viewing to give my final thought on that, but certainly there were a couple of scenes in there where I thought it was a bit too dark, and the big CGI showdown at the end did look really CG. And I also did question some of the creative choices, like the music choices, for example. One in particular, there's a prominent 90s song which was very on the nose, and it did feel like it was really pushing that feminist agenda, which I do think the film has, which I'm not opposed to. I have a little niece and I want her to be able to watch these films and look up to these strong, powerful women. So I'm all for that, but I just think the film could have been a bit more subtle. Like, that music choice in particular was very on the nose, and Captain Marvel even says at one point to another character, I think you should think about the example you're setting to your little daughter. Wink winks. Like, come on, subtlety. Going back to the cast, I really liked what they did with Ben Mendelsohn's character. He gives a good performance. I wasn't completely sold on Jude Law's character as her trainer and mentor, or Annette Bening's character, who plays this character on Earth, but she also appears as this computer simulation character of that character from Earth, and it really reminded me of Team America, because the character that she embodies is called Supreme Intelligence, and I kept saying in my head, that's bad intelligence, very, very bad intelligence. The rest of the cast are sort of background characters, like the Kree warriors, for example. You don't really get to know any of them at all, but there are a few familiar faces in there. Djimon Hounsou's character from Guardians of the Galaxy is back, and on top of that, Lee Pace is back as Ronan the Destroyer. But his character is essentially there to say, yeah, I'll be back in Captain Marvel 2. See you in the sequel. Goose the Cat, yeah, I thought he was quite funny, and I should also mention that Stan Lee has a lovely tribute and thank you message in it, and there's also like a fourth wall breaking moment when Captain Marvel kind of smiles and winks at him. So there are plenty of little moments in there that I did really like, and it does tie into the other Avengers movies. The mid-credit scene is totally worth staying for. The end credit scene isn't really worth hanging around for. It's kind of on the same level as Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's played up as a joke. Like I say, there are moments in there that are enjoyable, but I can't say that I love this one, and I think it's down to the way they've structured their story. I was expecting this to be a straightforward origin story told in a linear way, but they don't tell it that way. Instead, they do what DC did with Man of Steel, where you get a few flashbacks to kind of fill in the gaps and develop our hero before the big main event. I feel that worked in Man of Steel because Superman's origin story is so well known and we've seen it on the big screen already. But this is the first time we're seeing Captain Marvel on the big screen, and I think I would have preferred it to have adopted that linear approach. Instead, it feels like they're trying to usurp and tell the hero's journey in a slightly different way, but it still ends up with the same results. I'm not explaining this too well, I know. I think Morty says it best in Rick and Morty when he says,
I'm not a huge fan personally of the whole 3 weeks earlier teaser thing. I feel like, you know, we should start our stories where they begin, not start them where they get interested. Get out.
Ah, geez, I'm not explaining this too well, I know. Let me put it this way. If you imagine Iron Man or Captain America, the First Avenger, or Doctor Strange, or even Ant-Man, if those films had started off with Iron Man being Iron Man or Captain America being Captain America, and then seeing a couple of flashbacks to say, this is how you got your powers, now go off and fight the enemy, I don't think those films would have been as good, and I think that's why this film isn't as good as maybe some of the other Marvel films. I think it is entertaining in parts, but it definitely sagged in the middle for me, as my enjoyment tracker will show. So that's my thoughts on Captain Marvel, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. Like I say, there are some entertaining moments in this, but as a whole, I don't think this one gelled as much as I wanted it to. But then, like I say, coming hot off the heels off of Infinity War, maybe my expectations were just too high for this, but I am interested to see where this character will go next. I can't wait to see what role she will play in Avengers Endgame and in her subsequent movies. So I'm on board, but I just think this film felt pretty run-of-the-mill. So thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments. I'm sure there's going to be some backlash on this one. I thought it was alright, but not as good as I was hoping it was going to be. But thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. Subscribe